So, Mr. Ken, I hear you're interested in the used Silverado we have out front.
Yeah, I sure do love this Silverado, but I need to get it at a price that, I feel comfortable with.
Well, right now we can offer you an awesome deal. I think doing our best, sharpening our pencils, we can be around $30,000, and that's just out the door pricing.
That sounds fair, but honestly, when I'm spending that amount of money, I need to think about that. Let me sleep on that and let me get back with you tomorrow.
Okay, that sounds good. You just get back with us, and we'll go from there.
The very next day.
Oh, Mr. Ken, I see you're back in. I guess you're ready to purchase that vehicle.
Sure am. $30,000 sounds great.
Well, unfortunately, things have changed since you slept on things. We're actually having to change this price. Demand's up. People are looking to buy trucks. Gas is starting to go back down. It's actually going to be about $42,000 now. Yeah.
$42,000.
Yeah, I mean, demand changes quick, Mr. Kent. I mean, we have
What
to do what
happened
we
to
have to
30?
do. Well, I mean, that was yesterday. Things are different now.
I gotta have a truck. Let
Well,
me call my wife.
I wouldn't wait too long, but
Well,
yeah.
give me 20 minutes. Let me talk to my wife. I'll be back.
All right, sounds good.
15 to 20 minutes later.
All right, Mr. Kennedy, were you able to talk with your wife there?
Yeah, we really don't want to spend that much, but I guess we're good with it if we can still get it for that amount.
Well, I got some bad news. Demand went up in the last 15 minutes while you've been talking. We actually went and looked at a couple auction sites, and it looks like GM's not putting as many trucks into the market right now. So, unfortunately, it's going to be 52,000 out the door now. We have to do that. We just don't know when the next truck's coming in.
Just take my money now. Don't raise it anymore. Just take it.
All right, just sign right here, Mr. Kent. So, that was a little skit Anthony and I decided to pull, but we thought this week we were like, what is what is one of the main I guess things that we are seeing right now in the industry? Obviously, we've talked about AI, we've talked about other topics, but what we're really seeing, and I think maybe from a fiscal standpoint specifically, is we're just seeing this crazy increase cost in hardware. In fact, it really is like that skit. I mean, people are getting quotes, and people are that day, maybe by the time they even lock in the quote or the next morning, they're finding out there's more, or the quote that used to be 30 days good is now only good for 24 hours. So Anthony, I know I've already seen some of this a little bit too, but have you started to notice this yourself?
I knew about memory costs and I made a very poor decision. I told my folks, I said, memory skyrocketed right now. Let's wait till the end of the year. Okay. And now I just went to a conference 2 weeks ago and I was talking to a gentleman that worked for the town of Leland, and he was telling us about them buying their workstation. And I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was something like they got a quote towards the end of the year and it was like $80,000 for the workstations that they needed to buy. And so he called and, after the calendar year flipped and they're like, well, it's going to be 120. So he went to talk to their finance department and they're like, no, like we need to go get more quotes. And then next time they go back to him, it was like 160 or something crazy. So it literally is just like the conversation we
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of nuts. We've been kind of had the same sort of thing happen on a even much larger scale. We were looking for some new server infrastructure and looking at hybrid converged platforms, looking at converged platforms, all everything in between. But we were looking at this hybrid converged platform, and we got an original quote, and it was expensive, very expensive. I think it was like almost $1 million between when we were just like completely throttled. But we're like, okay, well, as a budget quote, maybe it'll be better. Sometimes you get a budget quote, and it feels like always they are knocking off like 10 or 15% at least off the budget quote. Well, we just for kicks, we were like, well, just requote it for us. And we had them requote it, and it did not go down. It went up to like 1.3 million. And we were like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Luckily, we didn't have to do the project, and we were kind of like, well, maybe we just wait till next year. Well, 2 months later, there's an announcement that they're going up 60% on the prices. Now that looks like 1.7, 1.8 million. What do you do? I know we're going to talk about, I don't know how we can do something about it, but why? Like, why is this? I mean, do you have any kind of thoughts or like inside information or something?
Yeah, with whether it be Dell, Samsung, Micron, never let a good crisis go to waste, and that's what they're doing.
I mean, is it? I mean, I know there's a lot of data center build out, especially around AI. We talked a little bit about that in a prior episode, just AI in general and how how fast it's growing. Is that it? I mean, is it just an AI thing? I mean, I don't know. What have you seen as you've looked around?
I think that's definitely playing a major factor with RAM and basically like flash drives. We were talking before the show, and I think is it Micron, where they basically have sold all their 2026 RAM inventory to AI data centers.
It may be. I know that they were one of the companies we were looking, and that's a kind of the weirdest thing. But I think they had basically stopped making or nearly stopped making consumer RAM, and we're focusing on AI RAM. So I think that makes a lot. I mean, probably yes. At this point, I know the data centers, whether they're AI or not. So that's the thing. It's like it doesn't have to be an AI data center to need a bunch of RAM. Now, the specific AI RAM is obviously very profitable, and there's a high margin on that. And I'm sure that's why it's they're focusing on that. But it's any RAM. There's only 3 companies that in the world. Well, not there's more than 3, but there's like 3 major competitors. Samsung, I think, has about 38 to 40% of the market share. Then there's SK Hynix, and they're around 30%, a little bit more. And then there's Micron, which is a little over 20%, and everybody else is 10%. I mean, there's like 3 or 4 different manufacturers, but you're talking single digit percentage wise. So I mean, that's nuts. And it's also it's not just it's hitting AI memory. That's another thing too, and that's what I'm kind of curious about. And I don't, did you find anything when we were looking, or were you looking that like the cost of like AI specific RAM? I can't imagine like what it is per gig.
I don't quote me on this, but I heard something about when you basically put it like per gram, like the weight of the chips, like it's almost like the price of gold.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's nuts. So yeah, there's this AI memory. And I'll see if we can maybe while I'm talking, Anthony, you can kind of pull it up. And I forgot the acronym, but HMI, I think. But there's some specific types of AI memory that are used specifically on a lot of these GPUs that are AI specific. Um, and then there's kind of the other memory, right? There's the normal different variants of server, registered RAM or unregistered stuff that's more consumer based. But the factory is the factory with these things. I mean, if you can make so much memory, you get to pick which version you're going to make. And right now, that AI demand for that specific memory is so lucrative and so profitable that's what they're making. I mean, I don't know if you're Joe Memory Company, Anthony, wouldn't you do the same thing?
Yeah. Looking it up, it's HBM and it stands for high
HBM.
bandwidth memory.
Okay, HBM. Yeah. So that's part of the problem is there's very lucrative. This RAM is very lucrative.
Catch this. So this explains a lot right here. HBM, basically the margins are 10 times higher than DRAM.
Jeez.
So for your normal computer memory, it's got 10 times the profit or margins when they build that out instead.
Yeah. So I mean, it makes perfect sense what's going on. They're trying to make hay while the hay's there. While the sun's shining. They're making this 10x profit that they normally don't get in DRAM while people are doing this AI build out, and you see it all the time. I mean, it's funny. I saw Cisco had a layoff this week, but if you read the fine print, they're not laying off people because of AI. They're laying off people to invest in AI. So they're actually like, we need money to do this, and I'm guessing it's because of these price increases. Like they're sitting there thinking like, well, we have this R&D budget and it ain't covering it. So we're going to have to figure out like where more money can come from. And we don't want to borrow money. So like, how can we get more operating money? We do a layoff, but these memory companies, and this is, I think is what's a little different than typically in an industry. And maybe you can explain this better, but like typically when there's high demand for something over time, eventually like people start building out more factories. And why is like, that's not happening now, isn't it?
They are slow rolling it, is what it sounds like in the
Okay.
news when I was looking at it. And I follow stocks quite a bit. And the Micron, Samsung, and the SK Hynix, like they are just like going through the roof. Their stock prices are just going crazy. Matter of fact, Dell, I think this last quarter, they had their best quarter on record for their stock, like ever.
That's nuts. And so I guess building a factory to make memory is just it's going to take a while. It's not the kind of thing you can just like spin up overnight. And so kind of we're in the doldrums, I guess, right now, so to speak. And I think we did some looking, we did some research, and I think a lot of people want to blame tariffs on this because Micron's, I think, US based, but the other ones are not. And I think one is Samsung. I think they're maybe both Korean, if I'm not mistaken. All right, Samsung and SK Hynix. But a lot of people were kind of blaming the tariffs. But for basically my research, and I don't know if you can confirm this or not, basically they exempted all of these companies out of the tariffs. They exempted all this AI memory, any type of AI stuff, server architecture, server hardware. They exempted it out of the tariffs because they knew what kind of build out we're doing right now and how that would have really hampered things. So it's not the tariffs. It is literally just this crazy profit margin they're saying.
Yeah. Well, that and them taking advantage of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to blame them though. I mean, if like someone started paying you 10 times more for what you were doing than you used to, I mean, you're going to be like, no, I'm sorry, I can't accept this more money. I don't know. It feels like almost nobody would make that decision. It's like one of those things like we hate it on our side of things, and we totally understand it on their side of things. I mean, they don't know how long. Maybe this AI build out is 25 years in the making. Maybe it's 5 years in the making. Maybe it's 1 year in the making. They're just trying to capitalize while this huge build out is happening. I know, like Microsoft, I think has got multiple data centers coming online, 4 data centers coming online, about 30 or 40 minutes from me. And I mean, everybody is throwing up data centers like they're building houses. And so they're sitting there thinking, well, we can make this type of memory that pays us this, or we can make another one that pays us 10 times that. And they're doing what they should do based on their shareholders and the employees for that matter.
Yeah, looking the people speculating on a stock, they're saying that basically prices are going to continue to increase until, at the very least, until the end of this year, so the end of 2026. And then they're basically saying it's not going to go back down. Like it's basically just going to stop skyrocketing. So this is not something it's not one of those things where you can just bite your tongue and wait and things will go back to normal. It's going to be a new normal when we're done.
Is there, and I know we're going to talk about kind of when the relief happens, but like, let's say we could wave a magic wand and we could build a new memory factory today. Like let's just say if we could do that, how quickly would we feel it? Is that something that would be immediate, or
once they decide that they're going to build a new chip factory or memory factory, like it takes 2 to 3 years for it to basically get up to full scale production.
Okay. So, I mean, even if we turned it on, I guess if we turned it online now, maybe it would, but if they're planning it now because of this, we've got a long ways to go.
Yeah.
So it's definitely it's gonna put a lot of surprises in there. Now we luckily did the opposite of what Anthony did. We purchased all of our hardware, most of our hardware for this year at the very beginning of the year, kind of anticipating that we might see that. So I guess that worked out well for us. But the thing is, even us doing that and you maybe doing the other thing, that's only a 1 year reprieve. At some point, it's coming for everybody.
We did upgrade our storage solutions in 2025, so I've got that going for me.
Nice. Oh yeah, and that actually reminds me. It's not actually just RAM. And we like really hit on RAM, and RAM is the most impacted, but it's also impacting SSDs and hard drives because and I forgot what it is. I need to look up the new number, but I forgot how much information is created every day. It's something insane.
What kills me is the spinning disks are skyrocketing.
Well, I mean, I think there's this cheap and deep, you're adding all this, the world is adding so much information on a daily basis to the world's knowledge base, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I need to look it up. It was petabytes, and I forgot how many petabytes every day. I mean, that was years ago. I can't imagine what it is now with the TikTok running around and people creating 10-second videos every day. I mean, millions of them. And so these large regular hard drives where people are dumping massive amounts of data, massive data sets on them, have gotten insane as well. So now, and we were reading and we were talking before the show, is now these companies are, instead of, they're trying to buy like regular hard drives, they can't get them. So now they're buying these giant SSDs, which is actually just really amplifying things.
And I don't know that we'll see it, but there's even a little bit of speculation that like there's for the just the workstations, like in laptops, you've got Dell, Lenovo, HP. I can't remember which one, but I don't even know that they named it. But basically, one of them went to like the big three RAM producers and basically just bought out. They're like, we need this for all of our inventory for 2026, and they got that partnership. But there's a little bit of concern that those other two, whichever two didn't get it, are they actually going to have enough memory for all their inventory for all the workstations and laptops they're going to sell? I mean, that I wouldn't count that, but wouldn't dismiss it either. It could happen.
Yeah, especially like maybe not the top 2 or 3 potentially, but like that fourth guy.
Yeah.
Like, and honestly, I feel like we have seen this, right? Take a look at COVID. And you remember COVID, and I think we kind of alluded to it with the car example earlier in the little skit we did, but vehicles went through this. Like there was a huge drop down in the supply, and what did it do? Well, one, you couldn't get anything, and the things you could get took forever, and the costs were going up. You remember all the people were used to get discounts off MSRP on vehicles, and then it went up to MSRP. Then it went up to like people were charging over MSRP. I remember my wife and I were looking for a car. I called, this is during I think this is in 2022. I called 36 different dealerships, and only 3 of them would sell me the car for MSRP. And of the remaining dealerships, the cheapest one was $3,000 over MSRP, and the most expensive was $15,000 over MSRP, which was basically like 30% over MSRP. So after, let's call them 36 dealers. So we have seen this, and we're going to kind of allude to it a little bit later, but it also impacted the used market as well. So for those that, I don't know, maybe have been living under a rock and have their budget approved and they're like getting ready to go out for that first quote, buckle up, because you are getting ready to be completely blindsided compared to what you put in the budget for last year.
Yeah, and another thing to keep in mind, because I wasn't aware of this until I spoke to the gentleman at the conference, but basically like a Dell quote is only good for 2 weeks now. And like for a lot of organizations, they can't even get a purchase order through in under 2 weeks. Just keep that in mind when you get that quote. Look for when it expires, because you're going to have to meet that, or you're going to have a new quote that's not going to be the same.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, so I heard from one of our vendors, and it didn't happen to us, but they said it happened to one of their other customers, that they basically put a quote in. I think it was Cisco Gear. They put out a quote that morning. It was like 9 a.m. and the person waited till like 4:30 p.m. that day to lock it in. And when they locked it in is the time when they finalized the price, and it actually went up. Okay. It's like within the day, within whatever 7 hours or something like that. Now I don't know if that was just in that particular situation. Maybe just the way it called it. Maybe it was, I don't know. But there's literally been situations where it went up within a day. And I know a lot of the quotes, like I know you said there are a lot less, but sometimes there are ones that they won't give you any. They basically say like, we will not give you any guarantee on the quote. Here's a quote. When you lock it in, it could be a little bit different. So definitely kind of a nightmare environment out there when it comes to some of these things. And I think it's there on the desktops for sure, but it's really there, I think, on the any type of like data centers hardware, any servers, any enterprise SSDs, large hard drives that are like we'll say plus more than 10 terabytes, stuff like that.
Are we going to have to start walking around like these farmers and have a big wad of cash ready to buy on the spot?
Yeah. Well, you talked about it, and you kind of feel helpless. All right, at least I feel helpless. I mean, like, it's like, what do you do? Like, either don't do the project you needed to do, and there's a reason you put it in the budget, or you just like accept it, and that doesn't feel right, especially at a small organization where money is usually not like growing on trees, as they say. So anyway, speaking of that break, if you're enjoying the conversation, we are really we've got a list coming for you that's really going to help. At least we're going to do our best to try to identify things. But before we get to that, make sure you're following along to the podcast wherever you're listening to this. If it's on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our channel. If it's on the podcast platforms, make sure you are you follow us and you have notifications turned on all platforms so that you're aware when we put out new content. And if you have any episodes for ideas, we'd love to hear from you. I'll kind of give out the email address at the end of the episode, but we'd love to hear an idea from you. Some of our most popular episodes have been folks that said, "Hey, would you guys talk about this?" I'd love to do that. Or if you just want to provide us any feedback, we'd love that as well. And lastly, if you know of anyone that you think would also get value out of the podcast, share it with them. Send them this episode that you're listening to right now. I think most people, if it's a colleague in the industry, they're going to be feeling this too. And hopefully our list is going to at least give them some steps that they can try to do to try to mitigate what's going on right now. So, Anthony, what can we do? I mean, is there anything we can do other than, I don't know, you talked about shortening our approval time. I mean, is that a strategy here?
Yeah, that's one of those things, and this is it hasn't happened normally, but there's been instances where like I've went to the CFO and the CEO and to say, look, like we got to be able to write this check like like this day,
Yeah.
and just kind of get things pre-lined up. That's one of those things where I think one, don't wait till the end of the year. Don't wait like I did. I made a mistake. Like we would be saving a ton of money if we would just pull the trigger at the beginning of this year. And two, like just make sure before you go and get that official quote, like talk with your finance department, talk with your CEO, and just explain what's going on. I'm sure they're aloof to this and really have no idea what's going on with hardware right now.
Yeah.
Sit down and have that conversation. That way you can get those funds prioritized so you can get that purchase.
Yeah, I think one great thing about how we do things is provided the amount of money is within the budgeted amount, like we don't have to get further approvals. So if you can get that set up where you're at the very least that. Now, of course, if it's going to be over what you budgeted, like it most likely is if you didn't leave any cushion in there, then that's a different conversation. But maybe go ahead and kind of try to get that budget exception ahead of time. I think that, and I would say, kind of you alluded to it, Anthony, but like, go ahead and do that now. Like, I mean, whether that's, I mean, you think of things, we think of like servers and desktops, but everything has memory in it. I mean, you're talking about like Cisco, I know has had a ton of stuff, like their switching, the access points. In fact, I was reading the other day, and I'm trying to think as one of the manufacturers, I think it was like Meraki, but they were doing a surcharge. No, I'm sorry, it was not Meraki, it was Ubiquiti. Ubiquiti was doing a surcharge, and that was tariff related. And I don't know how much I can 100% believe that. I think some of it has to do with like, but basically they're doing surcharge on equipment. So anything that has memory, whether that's switches, routers, whatever, even things like surveillance cameras. I mean, anything that has any type of onboard memory. If you are gonna buy it, or you were gonna buy it sometime this year, go ahead and pull the trigger if you possibly can.
Yeah, we just actually purchased a large order of network switches, and they weren't as drastic as the servers over the price, but it was probably about 15-20% over what we were expecting to pay. And they told us, like, if you wait, basically once they run out of the current inventory, like the prices were going to skyrocket from there. I mean, we were very fortunate enough just to get them while they still had that stock where they paid the good prices for.
Yeah. We actually had a similar thing with some access switches, same sort of thing. I don't remember the exact percentage, but it was definitely up from where we're at. A few other things, and I don't think it's as one of these. I don't know how much helps, but trying to standardize stuff so you don't have like random things. You're not overbuying maybe per se. Like for example, here's something that we did. We used to buy 24 port switches and 48 port switches. Now we only buy 48 port switches, no matter the use case, because it's actually better because we don't have to have this like different spares and stuff like that. We can have less spares. We don't get to a situation where like we need 27 ports and now we have to upgrade a switch randomly. So things like that can sometimes help. Do you guys do anything like that, or do you kind of mix and match, or you try to do any standardization or anything?
Yeah, actually, I mean, we've always been good with the network equipment to standardize, but when it comes to the workstations, laptops, my guys, they basically had to beat me upside the head because I was buying every Amazon special that I could, and we had just a motley mess of different workstations and laptops anyways, but they have since standardized basically all of our laptops and desktops.
Okay, good. So, and the other one I would say We do a little bit, but I feel like we have tried to do this very minimally, but don't oversize anything. That is one of the things you can do is like if you have that server and you know it needs 64 gig of memory, let's say, but you prefer to do 128 so you can see it grow and have that excess room. Maybe you do 80 or whatever. You do some 96 or you just kind of don't give yourself as much overhead as you maybe normally would.
Yeah, one other thing, and now granted, what we're hearing is these prices are just going to continue to go up, but I would definitely make sure you've got extra slots if you're working on servers or workstations. That if things ever do come down, which it doesn't sound like they will, at least you can upgrade it later if needed if it's got the slots available.
Yeah, that's a good point. So like if on a desktop let's say you got two banks of two each, maybe, and this is kind of one of those things where you could do is like you maybe need 32. You would have typically ordered, you know, you would have typically ordered um, 32, but you decide just hey, do the 16 and you do it in 8 gig sticks. Don't do it in 4 gig sticks. Same sort of thing. We kind of talked about that with the switches a little bit, which is don't fill up the banks because they would be a little cheaper to do it that way, but actually do the larger sticks, cost a little bit extra, but give yourself the ability to upgrade it if things stabilize. So honestly, I don't know, Anthony. I mean, I was trying to come up with alternatives. Is there anything like other than just not buying it or buying a lower spec version that we can do? The only thing I could kind of come up with that well, there's a few things, but one of the big things I could come up with, and I don't know, what are your thoughts on this? I'm kind of curious, like your philosophy on this, but do we start looking at like used or refurbished equipment?
I really don't think there's anything wrong with that. I've known of I've not been at one of those organizations, but I've known of organizations to do that. Even servers, like because like the used servers are, I don't know if they are now, but in the years past, they were steeply discounted, and
Mhm.
they will come up with the same warranty and everything that the buying a brand new, you'll get from them. Matter of fact, a lot of times you buy something new and you end up renewing with some third party to get a warranty on equipment. So I wouldn't knock it. I think it's if you've got a set budget and you're not going to be able to get that extra amount and you're at a hard place where you need that equipment, I would definitely look at. I would shake it out and make sure they're reputable. Like I wouldn't be going on some third party Amazon broker or something like that or eBay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reputable companies out there, and even some of the major players out there, they sell refurbs. But I would definitely, if you can't spend more money than what you had allocated for your budget, I would look into that for sure.
Yeah, that we have done that a little bit, not often, but we've done that on things that were like needed to be a hardware appliance, but we didn't want them to be. That's kind of a weird thing. It was like maybe a network monitoring device. Like we needed to do a switch port to a mirror to it, and so we needed a server. It needed to be separate. Needed to not be virtualized. This particular case, and we were like, well, let's just buy a refurb, cheap as we can get it, because we know we're going to be overspec for this particular use case. The other thing I know, one of the other things I thought of, and I know you've talked a little bit about this in maybe some prior episodes about running equipment longer, but just running the equipment longer. If you were planning to swap things when I originally started, we were swapping desktops every 3 years. We've since moved that out, but like, can you get by with 5? Can you get by with 6 years maybe? Do you just wait till stuff starts breaking? That may be an option as well.
Yeah. Now, I say that I'm a little hesitant to recommend it. Like, if it just really depends on what you're going to be able to spend and what you're not. But if basically you've got a good cycle, like for us, we're actually doing 5 years across the board now. That's laptops, desktops, and iPads. We do every 5 years. And we've been pretty successful with that without having any major issues. But it's once you get on that cycle, like if you skip a year, it will be much harder to get that line back up. So
Mhm.
that's one of those things where, unless you have to, I would still try to keep the same cycle that you have. And like I said, with things not looking like they're going to go down, it doesn't look like you're going to be better off by skipping it if you can buy it. Now, if you can't buy it, you can't buy it. Like, You know, if
Sure.
you've got dollars dedicated to laptops and desktops, and that's literally all you're going to get, you know, just do the best that you can with it. And like you said earlier, just make sure you're right sizing it and not going overboard on it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you were maybe if to your point, if you were maybe in that 4-year range, or maybe if you're like when I first started, we obviously I think we're in that 4 to 5-year range as well. But if you're in that 3-year range, maybe you just can you bump it out a little bit? I mean, it does give you a little bit of kind of some leeway there. So the other thing that I thought of, and I don't really know because these people are dealing with the same stuff we're dealing with, but it could be maybe a temporary reprieve or something. Is do we kind of look at more cloud compute and and try to take advantage of Amazon's economies of scale or Azure or Google or whatever? I mean, what do you think about that?
It's we've been interested in that. Matter of fact, the conference we went to, there was basically an entity that they put everything into Azure, and they were talking about the pricing. And now the pricing that they were given was pretty much in line with what they were spending on hardware, but that was hardware from 2025, not hardware for 2026. So while I balked at hearing that number, now knowing what things cost, it may not be it may be the next couple years. It's probably a little more lucrative than it has been in the past.
Yeah, yeah. Unless at least till they bake those prices in, because I mean, as they buy, they're gonna be hit with the same increases.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they have some overhead that they have overhead already that they can sell through before they have to like do as much expansion.
Yeah. One thing I'm not too familiar with, but I've definitely heard of people that love doing it is this leasing out their equipment. That could be an option if you need to basically push funds further out, is to look at leasing instead of purchasing everything.
Yeah, yep. You could do that. You could borrow some computers from Anthony if you need them. No, check. Have a phone a friend. Like, hey man, I gotta have some computers.
I did have to let someone down just the other day. We
Oh,
had a
no.
person that was they're retiring, and they're basically like, "Can I buy my laptop?" And I was like, "No."
No, okay. Yeah, that's you talked about it being gold. You're like, I'll take an ounce of gold for this. Well, there's not a lot we can do. There's a few things, and hopefully we gave you a few things that at least can help, or maybe at least nibble around the edges somewhat. But a lot of it, unfortunately, is baked in. Now, you kind of alluded to it earlier. Is there any? I mean, in the research that you looked, did you run across some time when this might actually, like calm down a bit? You talked about price increases stopping by the end of the year, but is there any chance of like future decreases or something if they?
It really did not look like that was going to happen
Um,
anytime soon. Like, might be 2028, possibly in 2028. It might be that way, but it's, well, like you mentioned earlier, like this data center build out for all these AI data centers. When are they going to slow down? Like, because
yeah,
right now we haven't seen it.
that's a good point. And until that changes a bit, and I know we've talked about this. We talked a little bit about it on like the true cost of AI. And like one thing that's kind of interesting, and we won't rehash what we talked about in the last episode. If you're really interested in that, definitely go back and listen. But monthly subscription for AI has not gone up, Anthony.
Yeah.
Why has that not gone up? Like
Actually,
all these servers that they're buying have gone up, but what's going on? But anyway, did yours change recently?
no, but actually, I heard something on another podcast. The gentleman that they're interviewing, I think the podcast is called My First Million, but they interviewed a gentleman, and he alluded to that the Chat GBT options are like heavily, heavily subsidized. He said that he had the $200 plan, like the max plan with Chat GBT, and he
Yeah.
says that you're getting, when you go through the API, you're getting like almost $2,000 to $3,000 in tokens. So
Wow.
I know you mentioned it on the previous
Yeah. Yeah.
episode, and I heard that, and I was like, "Oh, wow."
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. So I guess we don't know when that'll happen, but then let's back off even AI for that example. Let's just think of any software as a service, and we know we had a whole episode about that. Even if it's just your OneDrive, if OneDrive is, I'm sure, on a lot of spinning disk, these massive, massive spinning disk, if it's more expensive for them to buy that at some point, they're going to come from the Microsoft 365 subscription or the Adobe subscription or for that matter. I noticed, I don't know if you've noticed this at all, but I have several different video streaming services and they've all gone up in the last like 1 month or 2 months. I I think it's probably aligned, right?
Yeah.
They are now having to, they are storing more data, and because of that, they're incurring more costs. So, unfortunately, did you mention? I don't know if you mentioned. Did you mention there are actually plants in progress right now? Are there memory plants or hard drive plants and stuff like that in progress?
I don't know how many, but I have read that there were some in the works, but like
Okay.
it did sound like they were slow rolling it.
Yeah, maybe we need to, like, everybody, all these little small medium businesses, like, let's like figure out where they're building this thing, show up with like a shovel and a hard hat, and like we'll help you out.
Yeah.
Give us a discount when this thing gets online. I don't know.
That part, I know I mentioned it earlier, but like, so Dell, I think it was like their COO or their CFO, he was basically saying, how all the memory and the NAND, the RAM and the NAND, basically they had never seen prices skyrocket like this. But the funny thing is they decided to make more money than they've ever made. Like they blew their earnings out of the water. And
Yeah,
that's the bad part, like with all these entities with being publicly owned with the stock market is like they want to make their stockholders happy, and they're going to take advantage of it. So it's not only that their costs are going up because of the hardware, but I also think that they're going to make more money than they've ever made off a lot of these solutions.
yeah.
Hopefully that won't be true, but it's what we've
Well,
seen.
I'm not gonna get super philosophical at the end of this episode, but even for those folks that don't have direct stock, almost all of us have some sort of retirement fund, or whether that's 401k or an IRA or something. Guess what we own? Stocks in all those companies. Well, everybody wants to see their retirement go up over time. Well, the way to do that is to increase share price, and the way to increase share price is to make more profits. And so we get frustrated at it for sure, but like we also benefit from it. Most of us, at least those that do have some sort of retirement plan. Unfortunately, it's kind of, I guess, how things are right now. Hopefully, there's some reprieve, or at the very least, maybe just not the drastic increase, because I feel like a stable environment is just so much easier to plan for. So hopefully, even if it's like smaller, more linear increasing, that's still better. So we'll see where things go. We hope these new plans come online and really turn the tide, so to speak. Anthony, any kind of final thoughts on this episode, or are we just helpless?
I don't think we're totally I mean, to some point we are helpless, but I think you need to talk to your leadership and prepare them. And if you have stuff that you typically buy at the end of the year, like I would go ahead and start looking at that right now.
Yeah.
But talk to your leadership, let them know what to expect. They can help you make that decision.
Yeah, we may not be able to control everything, but one thing we can control is communication. So I would totally agree with that, Anthony. And it honestly, as leaders, and I know whether we have a leadership designation in our title or we don't, we are all leaders, and good leaders help prep other leaders for the situation, right? You think of like a military exercise. If a general's trying to make a battle plan, he needs to see that information coming in from all the different units and take that into account. So exactly, make those in the leadership positions aware, and that will, that does something for you too. That shows that you're thinking of their needs in this particular case, and if you're going to have exceptions, they're going to have to be the ones that were proven those anyway. So, all right, Anthony, another great episode. I felt like I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the back and forth a little bit. Unfortunately, not all good news on this episode. So hopefully, maybe next week or a week after next, we'll have something with a little more good outlook on it. If you're out there and you want to connect with us, email us at show@offthewirepodcast.com, or you can connect with us on any of the social media platforms, or you can connect to Anthony and I directly on social media. New episodes drop every other Monday, and thank you for listening. Until next time, this is Off the Wire.
Thank you, everyone.